Gar. Greetings, I am Tad Larkin, the lore master of Manda-LORE, and today I'll be digging through the archives to elaborate on the ARC Trooper Alpha 17. Born on Kamino, 32 years before the Battle of Yavin, Alpha 17, or just Alpha for short, was a clone of the Mandalorian bounty hunter Jango Fett. Specially bred to be an advanced recon clone trooper, Lieutenant Alpha 17 wasn't subjected to the same amount of gene therapy and modification that the standard clone troopers of the Grand Army of the Republic went through, save for growth acceleration. This made him and the rest of the Alpha batch of ARC troopers far more independent than the standard rank-and-file clone troopers. That, combined with their training by Jango himself, made him and his brothers nearly the battlefield equivalent of their template. After their training was complete, all ARC troopers, including Alpha, were put into stasis tubes, ensuring that they would remain in prime condition for when the Grand Army of the Republic was finally complete and ready for deployment. That time came 2 months after the Battle of Geonosis, when Confederacy of Independent Systems forces, under the command of Commander Mirai, sought to capture the cloning facilities on Kamino and stop the Republic's production of clone soldiers. Separatist battle droids were quick to overrun the outer defenses, and were nearing the laboratories where the new generation of clones were being grown. So, in order to protect these facilities, Jedi General Shaak Ti gave the order to release the ARC troopers from stasis, at the reluctance of Kaminoan Prime Minister Lama Su. Upon his awakening, Alpha 17 donned his armor, and fought valiantly to protect the clone children being overrun in the Flash Training Center, after which he aided Shaak Ti, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Anakin Skywalker in defending the Clone Generation Labs, and they were able to isolate it from the rest of the facility until SEP forces were eventually forced to retreat from Kamino. Alpha took a liking to General Kenobi and his young Padawan, and not too long after the Battle of Kamino, he joined them along with Jedi Master Glaive and his Padawan, Zul Zis, on a mission to Naboo's moon of Ohma-D'un. The group were sent to investigate the deaths of hundreds of spice miners and Gungan colonists at the hands of a mysterious bioweapon codenamed Swamp Gas, and after landing on Ohma-D'un, they were assaulted by the Ratatakai Dark Jedi Asajj Ventress and the Jedi bounty hunter Dirge. Ventress killed Glaive and wounded Zis, while Kenobi was being held down by Dirge. Alpha and Anakin were able to locate the supply of swamp gas canisters being loaded onto a transport, blowing it to smithereens before it could be brought to the pristine world of Naboo. Before they could link back up with Kenobi and Zis, Dirge took Alpha by surprise, and would have nearly broken him over his knee if Anakin hadn't intervened and fended off the bounty hunter. After regrouping with Obi-Wan, they managed to surround Ventress, and as good as the ARC was with his Westar M5 blaster rifle, the Dark Assassin managed to flee with Dirge in tow. 1 year and 2 months after the Battle of Geonosis, Alpha accompanied Obi-Wan and Anakin again, this time to participate in the Battle of Jabim, where the local Jabimai loyalists called for the Republic to aid them against the CIS-backed dictator Alto Stratus. During the first week of the battle, in the midst of a brutal firefight, Obi-Wan and Alpha moved in to help a group of clone troopers trapped inside an experimental AT-AT that had just been brought down, and before they could get everyone out, the AT-AT exploded, leaving Alpha and Obi-Wan presumed dead. They were not dead, however, as Asajj Ventress, in retaliation for her humiliation on Ohma-D'un, staged the AT-AT explosion, swiftly kidnapping the ARC trooper and the Jedi, making it look as if they had died in the explosion. Alpha and Obi-Wan were brought to Ventress's castle on her home world of Ratatak, where they were subsequently tortured in her dungeons. However, Alpha's intense ARC training made him a tough nut for Ventress to crack, and he held strong against her punishments. Eventually, Obi-Wan and Alpha managed to break free, and with the aid of Ventress's old rival imprisoned with them, Osaka Kursuke, they escaped, hijacking one of Ventress's Genovix Fanblade starfighters. Ventress had her goons pursue them, and above the planet of Riflor, they brought down Obi-Wan and Alpha's stolen Genovix, and although they survived the crash landing, they still had Ventress's mercs to deal with. The two may have died if it hadn't been for Anakin Skywalker, who had been hunting pirates on the nearby planet of Aeronaut with his interim master, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and he had sensed Obi-Wan's presence and begged to go to his aid, which Mundi granted. Not long after Anakin and Obi-Wan's jubilant reunion, Alpha 17 was called back to Kamino, where he was promoted to the rank of captain and became the lead instructor of the ARC training program, where both new clone commanders of the upcoming batch, as well as older clone commanders recalled from the field, would be taught the intense tactics of the ARC troopers to better their combat effectiveness. At the suggestion of Anakin Skywalker, Alpha would grant the graduates of his training program something the Kaminoans liked to avoid: names, of which the most notable graduates were Commander Cody, Commander Neo, Commander Gree, Commander Oppo, Commander Bly, and Commander Barkera. In 19.43 BBY, 31 months into the war, Alpha 17 went back to active duty, this time to aid Anakin, now a knight, Obi-Wan, and a host of other Jedi in a surprise attack on the heavily fortified graveyard world of Boz Pity. While Kenobi and Skywalker fought to subdue Asajj Ventress, Alpha was critically wounded by General Grievous, and the Kaleesh cyborg would have killed him had not Jedi Master Adi Gallia stepped in and diverted his attention. As Count Dooku and General Grievous retreated from the battle, Alpha was soon tended to by his friends. However, things looked grim for the grizzled ARC trooper. He had lost all feeling in his legs, and presumably would never walk again. Ever the optimist, Alpha 17 was loaded into a medical transport, along with the body of the supposedly deceased Asajj Ventress, bound for Coruscant. Unfortunately, Alpha would never make it to Coruscant, because Asajj Ventress wasn't actually dead. She was merely in a meditative state that slowed her vitals, and upon her awakening, she hijacked the medical transport and headed for the unknown regions where her and Alpha would never be seen or heard from again. This transmission was suggested by OliverFan2005 and General CJG. If you have any suggestions for future transmissions, don't be afraid to drop a comment. In the meantime, keep your comm channels open for future transmissions. And don't forget to subscribe. Tad Larkin, out.